Hi, everyone. Happy Wellness Wednesdays. My name is Claudia Wong. I am the co-founder of Mindful Nurses, and you have encountered us on another weekly Wellness Wednesday session. So Mindful Nurses is a platform to promote self-care and well-being for nurses. We know that nurses do so much to take care of others, and myself and the co-founder Janelle Smith wanted to create a place where nurses can go and take care of themselves, mind, body, spirits. So this is a way for us to do that. Each week we have a great presenter, either a talk, a holistic wellness talk, or a practice that you can actually do yourself to help improve your well-being and take time to take care of yourself. So welcome, everyone. Today, I'm really excited to have Angie Bailey here present some mindful artwork that she'll be walking us through. And this is in the form of calligraphy. So I'm really excited. I've never done calligraphy before. We had a session on mandala drawing previously as a form of mindfulness and being present and a beautiful way to express yourself. But we haven't had calligraphy before, and I'm really excited about that. Angie Bailey, she's a nurse from Canada, and she's used calligraphy as a way to help reduce stress for nurses, especially during the pandemic. So without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to Angie, and she can tell us a little bit more about herself and what got her into this beautiful artwork.
Sure. Hi, Claudia. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very excited to be here. And yes, so I began practicing calligraphy a few years ago for myself because I kind of hit a wall because I was looking after everybody else, as most nurses do. So I'm a peri-op nurse of 32 years and looking after a young family and people growing up, the kids growing up and working hard and working lots. And finally it hit me and I just was really tired. I'd come home extremely exhausted and I couldn't really function much. So it turns out that I ended up having Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So it's a thyroid condition, as you probably know, and I was exhausted and I did everything that I needed to do to get myself well. Exercise, diet restrictions, and so on and so forth, like, gluten, dairy, corn, or soy. And so I did a lot of things in my life to help me improve my condition. I was feeling better. But when I went to see the doctors, they said, I said, I'm feeling better, but I'm still not feeling as good as I used to. And they said, you need to do something for yourself. So it reminded me of when I was a kid. I was very expressive, very creative, and I kind of put that on the back burner, as many of us do. So I thought about calligraphy. My sisters had bought me a little calligraphy kit when I was a kid. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to start up with calligraphy again. So I started doing that. And shortly after, I finally started feeling better. It literally, I say that it saved my life. So I really feel strongly about creativity and what it can do for a person. And so it made me feel great. And then I started teaching it to other people. And then I started teaching it at the hospital where I work. And so, yeah, I'm spreading the word that calligraphy is a fantastic mindfulness practice because, as you likely know, you need the three things for a successful mindfulness practice: intention, attention, and attitude. And sometimes people have a hard time with the attitude piece when it comes to calligraphy because they're judging themselves. But it's all about progress over perfection. It's the whole point of it for me is the act of doing it, the sensory experience of doing the calligraphy. So I want to bring that to you today, and we're going to be practicing faux calligraphy. So now I'm going to switch over to the work area here, and if you've printed off the little workbook, fantastic. If not, just get some plain pieces of paper, and any writing utensil would be great. All right, so I'm going to turn over here, and Is that good, Claudia?
Yeah, now it's focused on your beautiful art there.
Perfect. Okay. So now I want to tell you about calligraphy. So we're talking specifically about modern calligraphy. And so modern calligraphy is made up of thin upstrokes and heavy downstrokes. Thin upstrokes and heavy downstroke, thin upstroke and heavy downstroke. All right. And so modern calligraphy can be done using a brush pen, as I just did. It can be done using a pointed pen with a nib. It can be done using a paintbrush. It could be done on your iPad with an iPencil. But today we are going to be practicing faux calligraphy. So I'm using the other side of this marker, which is a plain marker. I had the brush tip on this end. Now I've got a plain tip here. So I'm just going to show you that I can recreate the same thing that I did with the brush marker using faux calligraphy. And I'm going to teach you how to write the little phrase, just breathe. So we do this and we fill it in. I'm not very good at coloring. I like to color outside the lines, but you get the idea. Okay, so thin upstrokes and heavy downstrokes. So now calligraphy is made up of a series of different strokes. There are 10 of them that when combined, they form the majority of the lowercase alphabet. So tonight we are going to be using these basic strokes. And we're using these strokes because they are the ones that we will use in order to write our final piece. Okay, so we're going to begin with the simple upstroke. So you can see first in black, we see all of the strokes, and then next we see it in gray, and then there's a red dot where the stroke begins, and then the arrow is the direction that we are creating the stroke. So if you will now just trace over the gray stroke, that is your thin upstroke, and then start making some of your own. Now I'm going to recreate these strokes on this sheet and make them larger so that you can see them better. Okay, so you can just follow along and do a bunch of upstrokes. Now, the thing that makes this mindful as well is, I know you may be saying, you know, this is calligraphy is hard to do if you've never done it before. How can it be mindful when I'm very frustrated because I don't know what I'm doing? Well, yes, at the beginning, you do need to learn these basic strokes, but if you put in a little time, like 10 minutes a day, actually you'll go very far, and like within a week, you'll have the basic strokes down, and then you can begin to practice breathing, a breathing technique as you create the stroke. So as you do an upstroke, you're inhaling. As you're doing a downstroke, you're exhaling. We're going to go to the next stroke here, which is the descending loop. Okay, so if we look at it, it looks like the letter J. So a line down and then a curve up. That is our descending loop. Now, in order to make it look like calligraphy, we need to thicken the downstroke. So to thicken the downstroke, this is the downstroke because we began here and we're coming down and this portion is up. So the downstroke has to be thickened, and we do that by drawing a parallel line right next to the first downstroke that we drew. And then we're going to taper it off here and close it off, and then we fill it in. So you can practice doing a few of those descending loops now. And I want to show you that we are creating our strokes today on the up and down plane. We're not doing them on an angle. So when we are tapering our downstroke, we want to imagine there's a line here dissecting the middle of this loop. And that's exactly where we're going to and our taper point. Okay, and then we fill that in. I'm not going to fill all of mine in because, as I said before, I'm a bit of a messy colorer. Okay, the next stroke we're going to do is the underturn. And that really looks like the letter U. So we begin here at the top, we come around and up. So because this is the downstroke, we're going to thicken that by drawing a parallel line next to it. And we're going to picture that line here, dissecting the letter right in the middle. And that is where we are going to bring our line to this taper point, and then we close it off, and then we fill that in. So if you want to make a few of those underturns now. Now you may be asking, when you're thickening the downstroke, how do you know which side to thicken it on? Well, there really is, it's really a matter of preference. So when you are creating an actual word, if you are spacing your letters perfectly spaced, then it's best to always continue to thicken them on the same side. So either on the right side of the letter or the left side of the letter. And I'm going to show you in a little bit what I mean by that. All right, next we're going to go to the ascending loop. So it's a line that goes up and then down. It looks like a letter L. Okay. And once again, I'm going to picture that line right in the center of that loop. And then I'm going to start at that taper point, come down, drawing the line parallel and closing it off. And let's do another one. So now we can make a lot of variations when we are creating our basic strokes. And we can do that by making our downstrokes thicker. So we can have a finer look where our downstroke is thicker, but not really thick. And then we can have a chunkier downstroke. So it looks, a funner look. I'll just do that example again. So ascending loop. So I can thicken my downstroke ever so slightly, but there still is a variation. There still is a difference between the upstroke and the downstroke. There we go. Or I can make it really chunky. A fun beginning of a letter. And another way to vary things, of course, is to put things on an angle. All right, so the next stroke we're going to do is the clockwise oval. So the clockwise oval is just that. We are creating an oval in a clockwise manner. And then we are going to create the thickening on the down portion of the stroke. So we're imagining that line right in the middle of the letter. And then we're going to start off at that taper point, draw the parallel line, and end off at that taper point. So if we take a look at this oval will be used for the letter B, the letter P, and I'll just show you, we'll take that initial stroke that we made, the ascending loop, and the clockwise oval, and that makes our letter B. So as I said before, when combined, the majority of the lowercase alphabet can be created using these basic strokes. So make a couple more of those clockwise ovals. And then you will notice we have a counterclockwise oval as well. And that's going to be created in a counterclockwise fashion. So if I'm starting here, this is the upstroke, and now this will be the downstroke. So I will thicken that part of the downstroke, taper, and you can see that this will be used for the letter A and the letter D, for example, and Q. So a lot of people have a hard time with the ovals, the counterclockwise and the clockwise ovals. And it's just one of those things that you just have to practice, practice, practice. And as I said before, like 10 minutes a day, and it's incredible the difference you will see in these basic strokes that you're creating. So if you take these basic strokes that we're doing tonight and practice them like for 10 minutes a day, and then compare what you've done today to a week from now, you will see improvement. All right, so next we're going to do the compound stroke. So the compound stroke is like, it starts off like a hill, which is an overturn, and then it continues on into an underturn, which we have already done the underturn. So overturn and then an underturn combined make this compound stroke. And we are going to imagine this line here dissecting the letter, and then we're going to thicken the down portion of the stroke. So if we're beginning here, this is up, this is the down stroke, and this is up. So I'm going to start at the taper point, thicken my line, come down and taper it off. Now I've done that pretty wide, of course. We're going to make it a little narrower now. Okay, and then I'm going to thicken the downstroke. So Claudia, please, if people have questions, you can also ask me now. Okay, thank you. All right, so let's make a couple more of those compound strokes. And as you do, I am going to show you another letter. So we're going to take, for example, the ascending loop, and I'm going to combine that with a compound stroke. So I do the complete stroke, and then I'm going to do a complete compound stroke, and I have my letter H. And now I'm going to thicken all the downstrokes there and here. Now, for example, I was talking about letter variation before, and one way was the thickening of the downstrokes. Depending on how thick we make the downstroke, we can vary the look of the letter. And the other way I was saying is by doing things on an angle. So here I have my ascending loop on an angle, and now I'm going to create my compound stroke on an angle. And once again, I have my letter H, and I'll thicken the downstroke here and here. All right, next.
It's nice to have those rules, or the general rules, like thicken the downstroke.
Yes, yes.
So halfway point.
And the thing about modern calligraphy is that you see all sorts of different things, and there really are no rigid rules as there are, for example, in Spencerian calligraphy or copperplate calligraphy. It's very strict, whereas modern calligraphy is more lenient for sure, but it's good to learn these little basics, learn the rules, and then break them. is what
Yeah.
modern calligraphy is all about.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so now if you look at the next page, if you have it printed off, you can see that I have written out in the first line the word just, combining all of the basic strokes that we have used, except for the letter S. That's another animal. That's a different stroke. That is not a basic stroke, but it's basically the letter S. So we are going to combine all of these strokes to write the word just. So if you see, it will begin with an upstroke, and I'm going to connect my word just. So at the top of the upstroke, then I'm going to draw my descending loop, and I'm going to bring it through. And now I'm going to do an underturn. And now I'm going to do another underturn, but I'm going to stop it part way and continue it on as if it is an upstroke. Okay, but really it looks a little bit like two underturns. And now I'm going to draw the letter S as I would print it out. A simple printed out S, and now a straight upstroke. And now if you look at the letter T, we can take an underturn like this, and really the letter T is an underturn with an extended downstroke portion. So I'm going to start up here, come down and up. And then I will thicken all my downstrokes. And I forgot to tell you that the across strokes are typically a thin line as well. Okay, so I'll put my dot on my J, and now I'm going to start thickening up all of the downstrokes. Now, doing this without a shaky hand is usually happens before I have my coffee in the morning. And there's the word just. And now we're going to move on to the word breathe. Okay, so in the word breathe, we're using all of our basic strokes, and then the letter R is a little different. And we'll get to that in a sec. So we're going to start with an ascending loop. And then I'm going to do my counterclockwise oval. And notice after each stroke, your hand comes off of the paper. So if I were writing the word breathe normally, I have really messy handwriting, by the way. If I was writing the word breathe, I'd be writing it in one foul swoop. That's another reason why calligraphy is so mindful, because you are combining each and every stroke, but after every stroke, you're lifting your hand off the page. Okay, so that's the B, and now we're going to come up. It's like an upstroke, but then we're going to come around for the R, and then we're going to do an underturn. And now the letter E is really just like a printed E. And it's very much like when we get to this part, it's like a counterclockwise oval. All right. And we'll bring up that upstroke. I'm going to do another counterclockwise oval for the A, an underturn. And then for the T, we're going to do the underturn with the extended top portion. Then we're doing the ascending loop, a compound stroke, And instead of coming all the way up to the top for the compound stroke, we'll stop halfway and we'll draw our letter E. And then our across stroke. And then we'll thicken all of the downstrokes. So that's a downstroke. This is coming up. This is down. This is coming up. This is down. So this is thickened. This is down again. So that will be thickened, and I'm tapering it off there. That's up. That is up. And this part is down. So I'll start thickening up the downstroke. This part is up, and then I come around up and down. So this is the downstroke, an upstroke, and this is a downstroke. And it may seem a little confusing, but really we are creating the letters, like our hand is moving the same way it would be if we were writing, excuse me, if we were creating the letters naturally. So like the letter T, for example, I'm starting at the top. That's how I would write the letter T. Like I wouldn't write my T like this, right? So try not to overthink it. Okay, so this is a downstroke, down, up, and down, and our compound stroke here, and up, up, and down. So just breathe. So that is just breathe in its very simplest form. So if you have it here written in black, that is what we call monoline. So there's one line. And then if you look below it, in the gray is the monoline, and then in the red is all of the downstrokes thickened. So you can actually practice on the black one and then fill in the gray and red one as well. And while you're doing that, I just want to show you something else. So before I was saying to you that if you space out your letters evenly, then you can always do the downstroke on the same side. But if you don't, there's a little trick that you can use. So I'm just going to write the word at. Okay, so when these letters are spaced out exactly how I want them, and when I thicken my downstrokes, I'm usually thickening the stroke on the right hand side. It's just because it's what I'm used to. That's how I usually do it. And it's done like that. Now, if I wrote my letters here and I don't like the fact that these letters are a little bit crammed, then what I would do to make the letters appear further apart is I would thicken on the opposite side. So if I were to thicken this part of the downstroke, it's going to bring my A and T even closer together. So I'm going to make sure that for the downstroke, I'm going to thicken this part of it. And then on the T, I'm going to thicken this part of it. And now if you look at the space between here and here, even though I drew the letters very closely the second time, it's almost the same. So I've kind of compensated for drawing them too close together. And the same thing goes if you are creating a word and maybe you spaced it a little too far apart. Now I'm showing you two letters. So really with two letters, you can really space them however you want. But when you've got three letters, so let's write the word 8. So A-T, and I'm going to bring my E a little closer. You know what? Get a new paper. An A, T and E. Okay, so we can see here that my A and my T are very far apart, where my T and my E are much closer. So I want things to look more evened out. So what I will do then is I'm going to bring the downstroke of the A this way. And I'm going to bring the downstroke of the T this way. And the downstroke, and the downstroke of the E. Okay, so I brought those letters closer together to kind of make it even like this. So what I should do is do the downstroke here. And so now I've kind of evened out the space between the letters. And of course, I still have to do that downstroke. Okay, is that clear as mud?
Yeah, that's a great tip. So you
Excellent.
don't have to start over too. You're not like,
Exactly.
Space.
Exactly.
Yeah, great. Wow.
Now, on the next page, you'll see more examples of just breathe as they were on the last page in the gray, and all of the red lines are the downstroke. And then what I did with the fancier last version, which is very much like this version here, is I kind of dropped a few letters below the baseline. So here we have our baseline here and here. Whereas before in the other examples, we drew everything on the baseline. But now another way I can vary things is by dropping a letter below the baseline. And I don't know why, I just love dropping the S below the baseline. So if we take a look at the J, this is our descending loop. Here is our underturn. Here is our underturn that stops partway, our letter S, and then I just brought up a little loop, and then our underturn for the T. Okay, and then if we take a look at the word breathe, once again, I have my ascending loop. And so for the counterclockwise oval, instead of making just a perfect oval, I've started with an oval and then I brought a loop through. And then my R loops around, and then I've got like the underturn portion, my letter E. And sorry, going back to the R, I dropped the R below the baseline, and I had dropped the B below the baseline as well. Now, typically you would drop maybe every other letter, but sometimes you can play around with it. And I actually like the way it ended up this way. Breathe with the B and the R a little low and the T. But usually if you go on Instagram and you see artists doing this bouncy lettering, usually you'll see every other letter is dropped. Okay, then we're going back to our A, our counterclockwise oval, our underturn. I dropped this underturn, and then I made the T and H kind of fancy by crossing the T with the entrance part of the H and coming down. And then I've got my overturn and my letter E. So you can see in the dark gray is the monoline, and then in the light gray is the complete downstroke thickened. So then you can just trace over that and fill it in. Now, what I love about faux calligraphy, like I do faux calligraphy mainly, and pointed pen calligraphy. I don't practice a lot of brush pen calligraphy. I do it sometimes, but not that often. So I'm not really skilled at it, but I know that if I practiced at it, I would get better at it. But I really love my pointed pen. I find that, for me, I find that to be the most kind of mindful exercise, because I love when the nib is scratching the paper, and I really find it a really a really special sensory experience. Just love it. But what I love about faux calligraphy, why it's my second fave, is because you can do it on just about anything. So pointed pen, as you can see, it's a little nib here. So what you are creating is, oh, I don't have a sample to show you. Here we go. So this is really the largest size of anything that you can create with a pointed pen. But for faux calligraphy, if you look behind me, I've got a sign there. So the wedding signs that you see created, all the signage that you might see at a restaurant on the chalkboards, that's all done with faux calligraphy. So it's great because you can kind of do it on any surface, because you can make it any size you want. And then the types of things like markers that you can purchase to use on these different chalkboards and mirrors and shop windows, where of course you couldn't do that with a brush pen or a pointed pen. But I do know that they are starting to make lots of markers in like giant brush pen form. So I've heard that they've created some of those. I love to do my faux calligraphy because you can do it just about anywhere. So here we have Just Breathe, and then I'm going to color that in. And now if you've done all of your monoline and your downstrokes, if you've done them nice and evenly, you can actually, if you like the look, leave them like that without filling it in, or you can even fill it in with a different color if you like. I'm starting to lose my voice. I think I was talking a little bit too much today.
Wow, there's so many options. I never really paid attention that closely to like that some letters dip down and some are not, and
Yeah,
colors, so much detail.
there's so many things you can do. And of course, you know, I'm just kind of giving you a little bit of a taste of it tonight, but yeah, there's so many ways that you can vary the look of your letters. And I'm sure if you've gone on social media, you see so many different styles of modern calligraphy. So this Just Breathe is really, it's creative, really fun looking, but you know, sometimes you can see like the much sharper, edgier looking kind of calligraphy. So let's and you know, the more you practice, you know, you first kind of see what you like online, and then you kind of try to imitate it a bit, and then you practice some more. Eventually you kind of develop your own style. But yeah, there are so many styles. But as I was saying before, those copper plate and Spencerian, I mean, those are like the calligraphy masters. They are incredible. The calligraphy that they produce, it's just really amazing. But to me, it's a little too rigid. And for me, I don't think it would be as a calming experience as modern calligraphy is.
Right. Yeah, this faux calligraphy is nice because you can just use any writing instrument.
It's
And-
great. So for example, when I'm at work and, and I don't have a brush marker and somebody says, oh my gosh, oh, we need a card because so-and-so, it's so-and-so's birthday. It's so easy to just take out any regular marker and do the faux calligraphy and make something nice.
Yeah, you probably do all of the cards, the birthday cards on the unit.
I do all the cards. You know what else I do that I've been doing for years? The whiteboard.
Oh yeah,
Right?
like the
So
patient assignment.
Yeah, the assignment board, OR1, OR2, and who's in the rooms, and they know when I'm working because the board is always done in calligraphy.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, wow. Yeah, and it's great
What do
to
you
know,
think,
like,
Claudia?
yeah, it's wonderful because my handwriting's like pretty messy too, like normal handwriting, but it's good to know, like, you don't have to have a fancy handwriting, neat handwriting.
No, you don't. And you know what? I think it's a nurse thing too, right? Because we're always writing things quickly at work, like, oh my God, 2 units of blood and whatever, writing down on our greens. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because everything's always like in, such a hurry. Like, but so like there were days where I would be so stressed out at work during COVID, especially. I'd come home. I could not wait to come home and practice calligraphy. And I'd sit down just for 10 minutes with the pointed pen and be like, ah, just incredible, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so beautiful to look at and create, the process of creating it too, and following those soft guidelines makes it less intimidating.
Yes,
So
I agree 100%.
yeah.
Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it just makes
You're
it
welcome.
accessible to a lot of people. Thank you for sharing that.
You're
And
so welcome.
and yeah, before I'm talking to you, I never had thought about calligraphy as a mindfulness practice, but it really is. Like, you're taking the time to do it, and you're in the moment, and
Yeah.
it's beautiful. Also.
Yeah, thank you.
And you have Angie Bailey Art School, or Art and Soul.
Yeah, Angie Bailey Art and Soul is my company. Yes. So as you know, I'm a nurse, but I started this side gig. So I guess I turned 50 in 2017. And that's when I started for myself with the calligraphy again. And then it was in 2018 where I started teaching at the hospital. I started doing in-person workshops, and then even at Michael's in-person workshops. And then of course COVID hit, and I started doing a lot of Zoom workshops. So I guess it was 2018 when I started my own business, my side business, Angie Bailey Art and Soul, where I teach pointed pen calligraphy and faux calligraphy. But now I also have a membership called Common Calligraphy Academy, and where we do we have a project every month. So every month the project, so we did chalkboard signs last month. This month we're doing, I don't know where it is. We're doing like watercolor and pointed pen. So every other month, the people that I taught the pointed pen to, they can create either in faux or in pointed pen. And then every other, like, so for example, the chalkboard, you could always only do it with chalk or marker. But then every other month, for those who learned and wanted to keep their pointed pen skills, they can use the pointed pen if they wish, or the faux. So yeah, we do fun projects, and yeah, it's going to be a fun summer.
Yeah, that sounds great. Actually, yeah, a lot of things are on the chalkboard too, like signs in the restaurant. It looks really good, actually.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I've kind of always been obsessed with typography, even as a kid. You know what? Like when I would doodle, I'd always doodle letters, and I always wanted to learn how to make bubble letters.
Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I've been obsessed with letters for my whole life, I have to say.
That's great. Well, it's a perfect person to teach us how to write letters if you're obsessed with it. So, yeah. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful practice. Thanks for sharing your passion and your expertise in another way that nurses or anyone really can take some time to relieve stress and be in the moment and create something beautiful. And it's also satisfying too.
Yeah.
Satisfaction. creating it and looking back at your creation too.
Definitely. And as I said before, if you start to practice, if you begin to just to practice like the basic strokes over and over, or even write your name tonight and then practice, you'll see such an improvement in a short amount of time, especially with the faux calligraphy. And if you like, you can actually, if you want to go on my Instagram, I'm at Angie Bailey Art and Soul on Instagram, Angie Bailey Art and Soul. The link in my bio, you can get my free faux calligraphy quick start guide, which has all of the alphabet and all of the complete basic strokes. If you want to practice, I would love for you to pick that up.
Great. I'll drop your information on on our video comments, and also it's on our website at mindfulnurses.com. Also the little tip sheets you had about the different strokes, it's on one of our posts, and I'll find a way to put that on our website as well so people can click on that. But yeah, breaking it down to little sections is way less intimidating than seeing fancy.
Definitely, right? Yeah, I'm so happy that I found you, the Mindful Nurses on Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah. So glad you found us, and that we can connect, because this is definitely right up our alley, and something that nurses could really benefit from and make life a little bit more beautiful. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again, and thank everyone for watching. And feel free to replay this and practice along and get creative. These are just some guidelines, but as Angie mentioned, there's all different ways to do it. You can add your little flair on there as well.
And please, if you do create something, post it and tag me. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Oh, actually, I can show. Well, I was.
Yeah, show me. Oh, beautiful.
Practicing. Well, it's backwards. Practicing, and then
excellent.
Just breathe. It looks backwards on here. Right.
Good job. No, actually, it's
oh, it's okay on yours.
Yeah,
it
it's the right way.
Mine.
Oh, beautiful. Nice job.
Thanks. So yeah, it's nice. Yeah, I'm definitely going to use this like for birthday cards and things like that as well.
Yeah.
Great.
Definitely. You know what? Like I also make little these sorts of worksheets for for the hospital, like for the nursing station and the lounge, so that they can just like something to do, right?
Oh, that's nice. Oh.
You know what I mean? Because usually you go to lunch and they're calling you, oh, like what about blah blah blah. It's like, no, I'm doing.
Let me finish this word. Let me finish this breathing.
Exactly. They seem to really like it at my hospital anyway. So yes, it's a lot of fun. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that I found that this is something good for me, and I love that I can share it with other nurses, because like it's a stressful job, as you know.
Yeah, and I'm sure the nurses are very appreciative. Thank you for sharing your gifts and having that confidence to do that too. It's not a normal thing that's offered in the hospital at all. So thank you for bringing your gifts and that uniqueness to that.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you again, and thank you nurses, everyone, for watching. Share this with anyone that you think would benefit or enjoy this. And tune back in every Wellness Wednesdays on Mindful Nurses. So every Wednesday we have a wellness practice or talk about a different subject or practice that goal is to help promote self-care and wellness for nurses. So take advantage of that. And there might be things that you've never heard of before, never tried. So this is a good chance to try that out. Next week, for June 16th, we have affirmations for the new nurse with Janelle Gooden. She's a registered nurse, so she really helps new nurses succeed and gives them tips and tools on how to do that. So yeah, starting off as a new nurse can be very challenging. And having the right support and belief in yourself and self-care tools in your pocket is so important. So make sure to tune in for that. Thank you, everyone, and be well, and happy Wellness Wednesday. Sure.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.